headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister begins official visit to Qatar. And National Assembly discusses amended draft law on health insurance. In our world news, UN General Assembly calls for end to embargo on Cuba.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyền Trần with the top stories. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính attended and delivered an important speech at the 8th edition of the Future Investment Initiative in Saudi Arabia on October 31st. With the theme of Infinite Horizons, Investing Today, Shaping Tomorrow, the event attracted about 6,000 participants from nearly 100 countries.
At the conference, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh emphasized the need for collective efforts to address global challenges and urged effective, responsible investment, avoiding politicization. He called for a focus on investments in science and technology, innovation, human resources, digital transformation, green initiatives, and climate change adaptation. The Prime Minister expressed hope that partners, businesses, and investors will continue to support cooperation and investment in Vietnam.
Geographical distance has not hindered the long-standing friendship between Vietnam and Middle Eastern nations, particularly Saudi Arabia. In recent years, many Middle Eastern countries have prioritized Vietnam in their eastward policies. These strong foundations allow both sides to leverage each other's strengths and enhance bilateral ties.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh stressed Vietnam's commitment to leveraging all available resources, both domestically and internationally. He underscored the government's dedication to fostering a fair, convenient, and open business environment by streamlining administrative procedures and prioritizing emerging sectors. The country is focused on developing high-quality human resources alongside science and technology to enhance productivity and investment effectiveness. Additionally, Vietnam aims to strengthen national defense, maintain political and social stability, and protect its independence, creating a secure and favorable long-term environment for investors. The Prime Minister then discussed with Zanny Minton Beddoes, editor-in-chief of The Economist, Vietnam's role as a gateway to Southeast Asia for Middle Eastern countries and its strategies for the fourth industrial revolution, green transformation, and commitment to net zero.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính urged Vietnam and Saudi Arabia to fulfill commitments for stronger economic ties during a meeting with Minister of Economy and Planning Faisal bin Fahil Al Ibrahim in Riyadh on October 30th. The two sides agreed to elevate bilateral relations and accelerate negotiations for agreements on free trade, labor cooperation, and investment protection. They also directed ministries and sectors to act swiftly in implementing agreements reached by the country's leaders. After the meeting, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính witnessed the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding on Economic and Trade Collaboration between the Vietnamese Ministry of Industry and Trade and the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Economy and Planning. This agreement establishes a long-term cooperation mechanism in trade, industry, investment, and the digital economy, among other fields. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính attended the inauguration ceremony and opening of Vietnamese tech giant FPT's Middle East Regional Office in Saudi Arabia on October 30th. And this is the first time a Vietnamese enterprise has been licensed to establish a regional office in Saudi Arabia. The Prime Minister welcomed FPT's new office, its collaboration in workforce training, and also its efforts to develop and market products. He emphasized that to achieve long-term and sustainable success and create a synergetic strength, FPT must align with Saudi Arabia's development trends, which include the digital economy, green economy, circular economy, sharing economy, knowledge-based economy, as well as emerging sectors like AI, cloud computing, and the Internet of Things. Now, after successfully completing his visit to Saudi Arabia, Prime Minister Phie, his spouse, and a high-ranking Vietnamese delegation arrived at Doha International Airport on the evening of October 30th local time, beginning a 3-day official visit to Qatar at the invitation of his Qatari counterpart, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani. This marks the first official visit by a Vietnamese Prime Minister to Qatar in 15 years. The visit is expected to promote a more comprehensive and effective relationship, focusing on market opening, high-quality investment attraction, and cooperation in various fields. These include labor, education, culture, sports, tourism, people-to-people exchange, and climate change response. Additionally, the visit aims to enhance collaboration in emerging areas such as science technology, clean energy, digital transformation, innovation, and the halal industry. Prime Minister Phie was welcomed by Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani at Amaria Diwan Palace in Doha on October 31st local time. Now, following the welcome ceremony, the two leaders held talks.
Acknowledging that the Vietnam-Tar relationship has entered a deeper phase, the two prime ministers identified economic, trade, and investment cooperation as key pillars and committed to facilitating trade exchanges. The two sides agreed to explore mutual investment opportunities, with the prime minister expressing hope that Qatar investment funds would increase investments in Vietnam's strategic infrastructure, energy, seaports, and agriculture. They also committed to strengthening cooperation in security, defense, information technology, digital transformation, green initiatives, and climate change. The leaders highlighted the importance of people-to-people exchanges and cultural cooperation, considering a visa exemption agreement for ordinary passport holders. After their talks, they witnessed the signing of cooperation documents between their countries' ministries, focusing on air transport, sports, law, and diplomacy.
During his official visit to Qatar, Prime Minister Phie met with Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. The Emir hoped for increased Vietnamese investment in Qatar and supported favorable conditions for the Vietnamese community. Prime Minister Phie urged the Emir to continue enhancing Vietnam-Qatar relations and to realize commitments made by both leaders. Both sides agreed to upgrade their relationship to a new cooperation framework, strengthen regional and international coordination, and promote people-to-people exchanges. They also discussed negotiating visa exemption agreements for ordinary passport holders to facilitate travel, and agreed to have ministries implement commitments made during the visit.
Later, Prime Minister Phie met with Qatari Shura Council Speaker Hassan bin Abdullah Al Ghanim. Prime Minister Phie noted that Vietnam can learn from Qatar's success in hosting the 2022 World Cup and the Asia Cooperation Dialogue Conference in terms of vision and national development strategies. The leaders agreed to strengthen parliamentary diplomacy through delegation exchanges and the establishment of a Friendship Parliamentarians Association to facilitate cooperation. Prime Minister Phie also suggested that their parliamentary bodies coordinate closely to support bilateral cooperation, prioritize economic and energy collaboration, and work towards a free trade agreement.
During his visit to Qatar, Prime Minister Phie met with embassy officials and the Vietnamese community. He encouraged them to work hard and preserve Vietnamese cultural values. The Prime Minister tasked the Ministry of Labor, Invalids, and Social Affairs with managing overseas workers, negotiating a more favorable visa policy, and researching reintegration for skilled workers returning home.
Now on Thursday, the National Assembly reviewed a proposal and a verification report regarding amendments to several articles of the health insurance law.
During the discussion session, legislators shared their opinions on two key issues: the transfer of patients between health insurance covered medical facilities and the expansion of coverage for medical examinations.
Currently, health insurance does not cover these preventive services, wasting potential for disease prevention. I recommend adding health insurance coverage for periodic screenings.
Many patients feel insecure about treatment at primary healthcare facilities, leading to frequent transfers to higher-level hospitals and increased overcrowding. I propose maintaining regulations on transfer procedures while prioritizing convenience and efficiency for patients during transfers.
Regarding health insurance appraisal, some National Assembly deputies suggested that the Ministry of Health issue more specific regulations.
The lack of clear regulations on assessment procedures burdens hospitals and causes payment delays. I recommend amending the health insurance law to require the Ministry of Health to create detailed criteria for medical assessments, standardizing the process, and improving coordination between the health insurance agency and the healthcare sector.
I recommend that the Ministry of Health create regulations for evaluating the reasonableness of medical services for health insurance participants, which would help determine payment for medical examinations and treatments.
The Ministry of Health affirmed that it will carefully consider the deputies' comments to further refine the draft law.
Coming up next on VTV News. Vietnamese businesses poised for robust growth. And CUBA aims to build a sustainable tourism brand. Welcome back to VTV News. Now in Quảng Bình and Quảng Trị, rainfall has decreased compared to recent days. However, many areas remain submerged, causing significant hardships for residents. Local authorities are mobilizing various forces with support from Military Region 4 to swiftly implement recovery efforts in flood-affected areas.
As the floodwaters recede, various relief forces have arrived to assist residents in cleaning their homes.
My family is poor, so I'm very grateful for the soldiers' help.
In the two provinces of Quảng Bình and Quảng Trị, more than 200 schools were flooded, affecting over 100,000 students across all levels. At the peak of the floods, over 32,800 houses in Quảng Bình were submerged.
The military region has deployed over 5,000 soldiers to assist people in flood recovery efforts. We have also distributed 5 tons of dry food, 5 tons of rice, and thousands of boxes of instant noodles and dispatched military medical teams to provide healthcare to residents in flooded areas.
The province is implementing the Disaster Prevention Fund to urgently assist residents. We are identifying all affected parties to provide suitable support.
To date, the two provinces have lost tens of thousands of livestock and poultry, hundreds of hectares of crops have been damaged, and thousands of kilometers of irrigation canals have been eroded. Authorities have organized multiple task forces to assist residents in flood-stricken areas.
In order to best prepare for the upcoming inspection by the European Commission on removing the yellow card in fishing, the working group of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development inspected the work of preventing illegal, unreported and unregulated or IUU fishing in Sóc Trăng province. Soptang has 774 fishing vessels, of which 342 are 50 meters or longer. And from October 2023 to the present, the provincial authorities have sanctioned 20 cases of vessels losing connection but not reporting their location and not recording fishing logs in accordance with regulations. The delegation inspected the implementation of regulations on preventing IUU fishing at Tende Fishing Port. 100% of fishing vessels there have installed voyage monitoring devices, and the province has instructed 217 vessels to complete the registration declaration, reaching 84%. The remaining ones should strive to complete this work by November 15th. And from 2023 to now, Soptang province has had no fishing vessels violating illegal fishing in foreign waters. Vietnam's agricultural exports continue to grow robustly. In October, the export value of agriculture, forestry, and fisheries reached an estimated $5.9 billion, bringing the total for the first 10 months to over $51 billion. This figure is expected to exceed $60 billion by year-end. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development reports significant year-over-year increases, with forestry products up nearly 19%, seafood over 17%, and agricultural products showing a 4.2-fold rise. Asia remains the largest market for Vietnam's agricultural, forestry, and seafood exports, accounting for over 48% of market share, followed by the Americas and Europe. The United States, China, and Japan are the top export destinations, with the U.S. market exhibiting the strongest growth. Now, about 900 listed enterprises have announced their third quarter business results. Total profits increased by about 17% compared to the same period last year. The state-owned enterprise sector also recorded positive results. Despite being affected by Typhoon Yagi, business activities still maintain a positive recovery momentum.
The Vietnam National Oil and Gas Group has achieved its key targets 3 to 4 months ahead of schedule, with all metrics showing an increase compared to the same period last year. Notably, both oil and gas reserve expansion and production activities have met and exceeded planned goals. At the same time, resources have been well balanced against the adverse impact of fluctuating world oil prices.
Construction time is strictly controlled. We estimated that each oil well would cost $20 million USD, but now it is under $17 million. Shorter construction time means longer production time.
For listed enterprises, manufacturing and retail sectors showed impressive growth in after-tax profits during the third quarter. Some companies saw their profits soar by nearly 1,400% compared to the same period last year, surpassing their annual profit targets by achieving 130% of their plans.
We forecast that the total market profit in the fourth quarter could see a 30% increase compared to the previous year.
In terms of market capitalization, the VN30 Group was the main contributor to profit growth, increasing by over 20% year-on-year. However, third quarter results showed a slight decrease compared to the previous quarter due to less favorable outcomes in some financial, insurance, and coal production sectors, which were affected by Typhoon Yagi.
With support policies from the government, I believe that Vietnam will achieve its GDP growth target for 2024. Currently, the 8th National Assembly session is taking place, and many important policies are being discussed.
With the GDP growth rate for the whole year forecast to reach 7%, the profit of enterprises will improve in the fourth quarter. Most industry groups have shown growth in profits and have made positive contributions to the state budget.
CUBA, renowned for its stunning landscapes and diverse geology, captivates both domestic and international travelers. Its World Natural Heritage status, shared with Ha Long Bay, has significantly enhanced tourism opportunities. Hai Phong City now aims to develop a green and sustainable tourism brand for CUBA, leveraging its natural potential.
Trekking through Cat Ba National Park, a World Biosphere Reserve, has become increasingly popular among tourists. Visitors are amazed by its diverse ecosystem and well-preserved pristine landscapes.
We've gone to, I think, about 30 of the national parks. And we like to get out and hike. The trail was a lot more rustic than we're used to, just because of the amount of people that use the trail. It's a beautiful island, and it was a really, really nice trek across the island.
Additionally, a green and clean Cat Ba, free from plastic waste and dust, leaves a lasting impression on visitors. In the ancient village of Viet Hai, located within Cat Ba National Park, electric cars and bicycles are the primary modes of transportation. This allows visitors to enjoy the fresh air and tranquil scenery and helps reduce environmental pollution.
I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to do a bit of bicycle on this island. It's very peaceful, quiet. You can enjoy the landscape of these limestone mountains, and the nature is quite well kept. Lots of butterflies, lots of birds.
Encouraging the non-use of motor vehicles is a key initiative that Cat Hai District is promoting to develop sustainable tourism in Cat Ba. Additionally, the area advocates for community tourism models, ecotourism, and the use of renewable energy.
When exploring the forest, visitors are encouraged to keep the environment clean by disposing of waste at designated collection points instead of leaving it behind.
We have planted tens of thousands of native trees and maximized the use of natural lighting, ventilation, and energy-saving systems, achieving annual savings of up to 29% in electricity and 41% in water consumption.
Resolution number 45 of the Politburo, which focuses on developing Haiphong City by 2030, with a vision extending to 2045, identifies Cat Ba as a potential international tourism center. To achieve this goal, the local authorities are concentrating on creating a green island brand and implementing specific sustainable tourism strategies.
We prioritize green tourism criteria when selecting and attracting investors to the Cat Ba archipelago, as well as in developing product systems and planning tourism spaces in the area.
The local authorities are also seeking strategic investors to develop infrastructure, leveraging natural advantages while ensuring harmonious development. This approach aims to help Cat Ba reach its goal of welcoming 3.6 million visitors this year and build an increasingly attractive, sustainable tourism brand.
Coming up next in our world news. UN General Assembly calls for an end to embargo on Cuba. And devastating flash floods claim at least 95 lives in Spain. Now moving on to our world news, on Wednesday, the UN General Assembly held its 79th session, where a majority of member countries once again called for an end to the embargo against Cuba. The resolution titled Necessity of Ending the Economic, Commercial and Financial Embargo imposed by the United States of America against Cuba passed with 187 votes in favor, 2 against and 1 abstention. Members voiced concern over the severe negative socio-economic impacts on Cuba resulting from this embargo, the longest in history imposed by the U.S. on any country. Ambassador Đặng Hoàng Giang, head of the permanent mission of Vietnam to the United Nations, emphasized that the embargo measures violate international law and go against the fundamental principles of the United Nations Charter. Typhoon Kongray has made landfall in Taiwan, China, packing winds of up to 200 kilometers per hour and causing waves as high as 10 meters. The typhoon has forced thousands to evacuate, with at least 1 death and 73 injuries reported due to the extreme weather. According to the meteorological agency, Kongray struck the east coast of Tiangong Township in Taedong County. Authorities have evacuated 8,600 people from vulnerable areas, and over 400 domestic and international flights have been canceled and all ferry services suspended. Government offices and schools across the island are closed as a precaution. Kongray marks the 3rd typhoon to hit Taiwan, China since July. Spain has announced a 3-day national mourning period to commemorate at least 95 people who lost their lives in the most severe flooding in the past 30 years. Currently, Spanish rescue forces are actively searching and rescuing victims trapped in the mud. Torrential rains since the beginning of this week have caused the deadliest natural disaster in Spain since 1973. Meteorologists report that some areas of Valencia received a year's worth of rain in just 8 hours, leading to traffic jams and submerged farmland in Spain's key fruit-producing region. Scientists warn that extreme weather events are becoming more intense, longer-lasting, and more frequent due to climate change. The world's largest technology exhibition, GTEX, recently took place in Dubai, UAE. This event offers visitors the opportunity to marvel at cutting-edge practical technologies, poised to revolutionize how societies function in the future. More in the following.
One of the top highlights of this year's exhibition is the 3D transportation solution for urban areas that technology companies are racing to develop. With vehicles such as flying taxis, urban transportation is expected to soon expand beyond the ground and waterways into the air. The bustling movement in both sky and ground, once only seen in science fiction, may soon become a reality.
Now, air scooter in its current form is for recreational markets. To launch commercially for entertainment in the US next year and to sell to individuals starting end of the year.
The breakthrough development of artificial intelligence is opening up many new solutions. Robot dogs, developed by Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, are one such innovation. Capable of recognizing faces and voices, and even checking ID cards, robot dogs are expected to become part of security patrol teams in the future.
AI is now part of our life. The next step could be also combining with the robotics. Now the AI is no more just sitting on an app, right? It is embodied. It has a physical meaning, it can interact with the world.
This year's exhibition also showcased the proliferation of robot receptionists and customer service staff. These virtual assistants demonstrate their advantages over human counterparts by storing vast amounts of information, possessing self-learning capabilities, and simultaneously communicating in multiple languages.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.